Well, here we are back again, and it's not often that I talk about a Greek tragedy. My goodness, Euripides wrote this how many years ago?
About 2,500, I think.
2,500 years ago. Oh my goodness. Talk about a long-standing playwright. Peter Lavenia is next to me, and he plays Talthybius?
Talthybius.
Okay. I'm not good on Greek, so. And then Lucy Breyer is playing
Hecuba.
Hecuba. Okay, good. Ooh, I gotta go back and learn all my alphabet and Greek letters and everything here.
We are performing in English.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Peter, how long have you been acting?
I've been acting on and off since I was in high school, so I'd say about 15 years.
Yeah, so is this your first Greek tragedy?
It is certainly my first Greek tragedy.
I was like amazed when I found out this is a Greek tragedy. I mean, what makes a Greek tragedy? Well, that's the question.
Well, I mean, this is the birth of our dramatic tradition. And it's astonishing that you can be performing a play that was first performed 2,400 years ago. It's performed very differently than it would have been before a Greek audience, but it's astonishingly modern in its feel and its emotions and its commentary on what happens in human life. I mean, this is not a conventional tragedy in that you see, or what we think of as conventional tragedy, in that you see the fall of noble people, which is kind of the convention. The people we see in this play, the women we see in this play, have fallen. They are suffering, and they are the victims of war, essentially.
So they were sold as slaves, right? Weren't they?
We see them at the point that they have been captured. They are going into slavery. Basically their side lost. And Hecuba, my character, who is a queen, the mother of 19 sons, all of whom have fallen in battle, and numerous daughters. Her entire world has been shattered. Talthybius represents the victors. He represents the victors. All of the Trojan men are gone. You're the victor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the herald, so I come and I kind of give commands to the Trojan women, and I say you're going to be sold off to, or given to this noble Greek, or that you're a slave now, or you're going to be their wife. But my character represents the victors, and really the way Euripides wrote it as a Greek is very interesting. It looks at the realism of what happens, the horrors of after a war. That these are the civilians, these are people who had to deal with their city being destroyed and with their friends and family dead. And now, Euripides is saying, there really are no winners or losers here. Whichever side you think was good or not, there's always bad things that have happened. So it's very fast.
It's an anti-war play in a way.
Somewhat, but I think it's more about the realism of war. He's really not saying one side was better than the other. He's simply saying that someone has to deal with the aftermath, and it's usually bad, one way or another. And my character really in the play comes in the beginning, and he's very haughty and is ordering people around, and then he begins to see that the effects that this is going to have, the tragedy is that, these women are going off, and they did nothing wrong. They weren't fighting in the war, but they're going to be sold off, and their children are hurt or dead. So, he begins to understand that maybe his side wasn't 100% right, and it's not always great to be the victor either.
That's really an important message.
Yeah, I think so.
How many characters are there in the play?
About 8 to 10, I think.
I haven't counted, but yeah, I think 8. We have Greek tragedy, Greek theater generally is written with a chorus character, which can be played by numerous people. In our play, the chorus.
By chorus, they're not singing. It's kind of a chanting chorus.
They present the commentary on what's going on, and in this case, there are two Trojan women who are our chorus, and then a number of other major characters. There are only 2 male characters, Talthybius and Menelaus, who of course, it was his wife, Helen, who was stolen, which is what starts the entire Trojan War.
Helen
and so
Troy.
we see him as the victor coming and basically reclaiming his wife, who, if anyone is a villain in this piece, it is Helen. It is certainly all of the Trojan women blame Helen for being, essentially the slut who started this whole thing. It is her adultery, really, or her willingness to come, or that has made this entire war happen.
Is this play a part of history? Did this really happen?
That's questionable. I mean, we think that the Trojan War happened. Certainly in the 19th century, there were archaeological finds in what's now Turkey that show that there was some kind of a conflict. But, this is really based on the Iliad, which was kind of an oral tradition that happened, I think, maybe 500 years before Euripides wrote. So there's probably something of truth to it. Yeah, but what's interesting about this, I think, as Lucy said, was that the Trojan women has become the base for a lot of Western tragedy. So in itself, it's a part of history because Shakespeare draws from it. Everybody draws from it. I think we were talking the other night about how much Shakespeare talks about Hecuba, right?
Hecuba is throughout the medieval period, actually, in Europe, Hecuba was the image of suffering, of sorrow. And so and Shakespeare actually uses her several times. In Hamlet, when he's talking to the actors, the actor is actually performing as Hecuba, and he's talking about how he strikes the air and makes poses and such. But I think what's important for us to understand is that this story is something that to Euripides' audience would have been as familiar as biblical stories are to us. So they know all about Helen. They all know, we're talking about their gods, Zeus and Athena and Poseidon. Athena and Poseidon are actually two of the characters in the play. And these characters, I mean, they're to the audience here, they are yes, they're part of their history and also part of their mythology.
The thing that amazes me the most, listening to both of you speak, you feel, I think you can identify with, both of you appear to identify with the characters in the tragedy of war and the empathy that you feel for the characters. Even you as a victor feels the empathy towards that character.
Yeah, it's having come into this, I'd never, like you said, done Greek tragedy before, but you see that all these archetypes, these are very human characters the way he wrote. I think why it has endured. So my character, he comes in again a lot of people saying, okay, this is great, we won, but then you see what actually happened, and the character says that there's a human cost.
Yeah.
So
there's no doubt. Where can they see this?
The performance is at 137 State Street, which is the storefront rehearsal space that Classic Theater Guild usually uses. It's a very small venue, so we encourage people to get tickets early. We're already sold out for opening night.
Okay.
And the performances are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, I think
February
we'll put the dates up there, yeah.
Through the March 2nd, and then March 6th through 9th.
Okay.
So,
well, we encourage you to, if you've never seen a Greek tragedy, check it out. We do talk about the effects of war. This might bring it home, even though it was written 2,400, 2,500 years ago. It's still apropos. It's too bad that we can't seem to get beyond fighting as we become more civilized, we seem to become less civilized. I'm not sure. But that's just my commentary. Nobody else's.
Certainly, one of the things that I think about every time we go through this play is the people in the world who are experiencing this on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
And it makes us realize how fortunate we are that we as Americans, we have never seen war brought to our own doorstep.
No. Well, the Civil War, other than that, that was a biggie.
And even in upstate New York, that didn't happen here.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yes, we have certainly sent our sons out to die in war, but
it hasn't affected us personally.
Yeah, right.
That's correct.
We have not seen our cities in flame.
Exactly.
So.
Check it out. It's called Trojan Women. and it's by the Classic Theater Guild. We want to give them credit. They do some incredible work and have received a number of awards for some of their plays. It's at 137, and that's over by DSIC office, the Downtown Schenectady
Yeah, it's
Improvement.
exactly next to that. Yes.
Right next to that, near where Madison bags are made too. So it's in Lower State Street. Check it out. There's plenty of parking in the area, and enjoy a Greek tragedy. That doesn't quite work, but it seems to. Peter Lavenia and also Lucy Breyer here today. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.